Hi everyone, this is the video manual for the ONDU 6x6 Mark III as well as the ONDU 6x6 RISE Pinhole camera. You will receive your camera in a cotton protective camera pouch to prevent any scratches or damage during use. Camera is located inside. You will also be supplied with a 3D printed snap-on filter mount, a wooden exposure chart, as well as an elastic shutter strap that you can use during transport when you're not shooting with your camera to prevent accidental or unwanted exposures. All right. The camera features a 0.2mm pinhole, a focal length of 25, which gives us an f-stop equivalent of 125. There are horizontal and vertical field of view engravings for composing our shot, a leveling bulb so we can keep our horizon straight, and strap mounts for securing your camera on a shoulder strap. There's also engraved winding direction indicators, so we know in which direction we have to turn when we are advancing to the next spot. A standard tripod hole, tripod mount, and a red window shutter. To load the camera, we first have to remove the back, which is held together by strong magnets. And we do that by pulling on this recess on the side of the camera. Okay. Before loading, we also have to take out our guide pins, our winding pins, which are held together in place by magnets, and our take-up spool and another guide pin. Okay. Then we take our film that we're going to use. In this case, this is Pan F50 from Ilford. And we put our first guide pin underneath and put it on the right side of the camera. Okay. Try to keep in mind that you should keep some tension on the film so it doesn't unravel. And when you're doing this, it is advisable to do it in subdued light. So don't load your 120 film cameras in direct sunlight, because that could lead to light leaks and fogging. Okay, now we've set up the second guide pin. We've threaded the film in. Okay, and now we see that the take-up spool has engaged the film. When we're at this stage, we can essentially close the backplate and we look for number 1. So this way it's closed, this way it's open. We open the shutter and we look for number 1. We have to advance quite a far bit, and I don't think this will be visible on the camera because it is very dark inside, as it has to be. Okay, we've reached number 1. You can't see this right now, but it's there. And now we're ready to take our first exposure. When you're advancing to your first frame, make sure that this is closed. You don't want any accidental exposures while you're winding, so keep your shutter closed when you're advancing to the first frame and every subsequent frame, obviously. To take the exposure, we just open the shutter like so. It's locked in position in both positions, so open and close with the help of magnets. So even if your camera is at odd angles, it should stay open. Okay, and this ensures shake-free exposures even with short exposure times. While we're looking at the shutter, I'm going to introduce the ONDU 6x6 RISE, which is essentially the same camera except that it has 3 pinholes, 2 extra positioned on the upper and lower film plane. This gives us the possibility of raising or lowering our horizon on the image without distorting the vertical lines of the shot. So for instance, if we want to raise our horizon to the top third, we open the top one and the bottom for the bottom one. I would advise you to have a look at our website with actual comparison shots for all 3 holes, so you can see what it actually does. So this is a new product that we did last year with our Kickstarter, and it's pretty much the same except that it has 3 holes. Everything else is the same as the regular 6x6. Both cameras are compatible with the use of filters. The 6x6 uses a 58mm thread, which we can focus here. Yeah, it uses a 58mm thread, and the RISE filters are compatible with Cookin A series filters, and they're just mounted in this 3D printed piece by snapping in like so. All right. Focus searching. All right. And that's about it when it comes to filters. To set your exposure, every camera gets supplied with an exposure chart, and you set your light meter or camera to the film's ISO. So for instance, if we're using 100 ISO film on the camera, you set 100 on your digital camera or light meter, whatever you have, and set it at aperture f22. Once you have those 2 settings input, you take a reading, and you have the bottom column which gives you how long you have to expose your shot in the actual pinhole camera. So for instance, if you get a reading of 1/8 of a second, your corresponding reading for the exposure on the pinhole is 4 seconds. So we open, we count to 4, and we close it. The actual exposure should be done with the camera stationary. It should not move during exposures because that will cause blurs. Exposure times in a pinhole camera, because of its relatively high aperture compared to lens cameras, are really long. That's why we need to keep the camera steady and shake free as much as possible. I think that would be it in terms of explaining these 2 new cameras. And if you have any more questions, contact us on our website or send a comment below. Thank you for watching, and happy pinholing.